You spend $4,000 on a modern heating system that quits the second your power goes out. Meanwhile, during the Great Depression, homeless men riding freight trains stayed warm in boxcars at minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit using nothing but tin cans and candle stubs. Zero electricity, zero natural gas, zero dependence on a grid that can fail. These weren't desperate survival hacks. They were sophisticated thermal engineering solutions developed by people who understood heat transfer better than your HVAC technician ever will. Because when your life depends on staying warm with no backup plan, you don't guess, you innovate, or you die. Today, we're cracking open the Hobo heating playbook. 7 inventions so ingenious that modern preppers, vanlifers, and off-grid builders are rediscovering them almost a century later. The knowledge we're about to uncover isn't just historical curiosity, it's survival technology that works when everything else fails. 1. The Hobo stove. Rocket science in a tin can, December 1932, a boxcar rattling through Montana. Outside temperature, minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, 3 men huddle around a device that looks like junk but burns hotter and cleaner than your modern wood stove. It's called a Hobo stove. 2 tin cans, one inside the other. A few holes punched in specific places. That's it. This simple design creates a combustion system so efficient it became the blueprint for modern rocket stoves that outdoor companies now sell for $200. Here's what hobos understood about fire that most people do UNT. Normal campfires waste 80 to 90% of their heat. The Hobo stove traps that heat and forces it to work twice. The inner can creates a combustion chamber. Air enters through holes at the bottom, feeding the fire. As flames rise, they heat the walls of the inner can to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This creates a secondary combustion zone where smoke itself burns, releasing even more heat. The outer can act as a heat shield and radiator, protecting surfaces while directing warmth outward. The result? Complete combustion, almost zero smoke. A handful of twigs produces as much usable heat as an armful of wood in a regular fire. Modern rocket stove manufacturers copied this exact design and charge premium prices for it. 2. The Buddy Burner. 72 hours of heat from cardboard. Picture this. A tuna can filled with corrugated cardboard strips soaked in melted wax. It looks like a candle's ugly cousin, but this device, called a Buddy Burner, could keep a man alive for 3 days straight. Here's the physics. Cardboard provides structure and surface area. Wax is the fuel-pure hydrocarbon energy. When you light the cardboard wick, the wax melts and gets drawn up through the corrugated channels. By capillary action, the cardboard acts like thousands of tiny wicks, dramatically increasing the burn surface. One Buddy Burner the size of a tuna can burn for 2 to 4 hours. You could cook a meal, heat a small space, or dry wet clothes. The flame is steady, controllable, and produces serious heat. Hobos made these in batches. 5 Buddy Burners meant 15 to 20 hours of reliable heat, all from materials pulled from trash bins. Modern emergency candles try to replicate this. They charge $1,520 for what amounts to the same technology hobos perfected with garbage in the 1930s. 3. The Tin Can Lantern Heater. This one's genius. Take a tin can, punch holes in a pattern around the sides, not random but in specific rows. Place a candle inside. Suddenly, you don't just have light, you have a radiant heater that warms hands and faces in seconds. The holes create convection channels. Cold air enters at the bottom, gets heated by the candle flame, and rises. But here's the trick. The metal can absorb heat and re-radiates it outward. The surface temperature of the can reaches HA-400 degrees Fahrenheit, far hotter than the candle flame alone. One candle in open air provides minimal warmth. That same candle in a punched tin can becomes a focused heat source. Hobos used these in boxcars and makeshift shelters. The light was a bonus. The heat was the point. 4. The Sand-Filled Heat Battery. Here's where hobos understood thermal mass better than modern engineers. They'd take a metal bucket or a large can, fill it with sand, and heat it over a fire for 30 to 60 minutes. That heated sand would stay warm for 6 to 8 hours. Sand has incredible heat retention. Once it's hot, it releases that energy slowly and steadily. Hobos would heat their sand batteries during the day when they could build a fire safely, then bury them in their bedrolls at night. The sand acted like a slow-release heating pad, keeping them warm until morning. Modern hand warmers use chemical reactions that last 6 to 8 hours and cost $2 to $3 each. A bucket of sand costs nothing, lasts forever, and can be reheated infinitely. The Hobo method is actually superior, but you can't sell it in a package, so the industry ignores it. 5. The newspaper log roller hobos turned trash paper into fuel that burned longer and hotter than wood. They'd roll newspapers tightly, soak them in water, then let them dry. The result was dense paper logs that burned slowly and produced steady heat. The science is simple. Loose paper burns in seconds, too much oxygen reaches the fuel. Tightly rolled and compressed paper burns like hardwood. The rolling removes air gaps, and the water soak dry process compresses the fibers even further. One newspaper rolled tight could burn for 20 to 30 minutes. A dozen of these logs provided hours of heat during the Depression. When wood was scarce or had to be stolen, paper was everywhere. Hobos had infinite fuel as long as newspapers existed. 6. The double-wall windscreen oven, this device, is pure thermodynamic brilliance. Take 2 tin cans of different sizes, cut the bottom off the larger one, nest them together with an air gap between them. Place this over your heat source. The air gap creates insulation, trapping heat inside the inner can. But it also creates convection currents. Hot air rises through the gap, drawing more heat up from below. The inner can reaches temperatures capable of baking bread or boiling water in minutes. Modern camp stoves try to do this with fancy materials and engineering. Hobos did it with garbage cans and tin snips. The principle is identical. The performance is the same. 7. The gravel-filled warming stone last one, and maybe the most elegant. Hobos collected river stones or gravel, placed them in metal containers, and heated them in fires. These stones held heat for incredible lengths of time, 8 to 12 hours. The trick was using multiple small stones rather than one large one. More surface area means more heat radiation. The metal container protected against burns, while allowing heat transfer. Hobos placed these warming stones in their coats, bedrolls, or against their bodies. This is the same principle behind heated stone massage, thermal therapy, and modern heat retention cooking. The hobos weren't inventing new physics. They were applying ancient knowledge with found materials. Why did we forget this? Here's the truth. These methods disappeared because they threatened profits. You can't sell dependency when people can heat themselves with trash. The energy industry needs you buying fuel. Equipment manufacturers need you buying gear. A hobo with a tin can and some cardboard was thermally independent. Modern consumers spending $200 a month on heating bills are reliable revenue streams. The shift wasn't about progress, it was about profit. What you can do today, you don't need to wait for disaster. Start experimenting now. Make a hobo stove from 2 tin cans. Build a buddy burner. Test these systems while you still have backup heat. The knowledge isn't dead. It's just buried under a century of consumerism. These men survived the worst economic collapse in American history, using engineering principles that still work today. If you want more forgotten survival knowledge that modern industries don't want you to remember, subscribe. We're digging up the practical skills that kept people alive when systems failed. And send this to anyone who thinks they need expensive gear to stay warm. They don't. They just need to think like a hobo. We'll see you in the next one.